In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a stained glass effect in Affinity 3. Since we're in the Christmas season, I'll use the vector design of a family of snowmen. These snowmen were actually pretty easy to do, as I only had to use shapes. First, I'm going to give you a quick explanation of what I did. I didn't really want to do all the drawing. That would have taken forever, and I would have had a video that was way too long for this. And to be perfectly honest, I just wanted to show you the stained glass effect. I started over here in the vector persona to make all this. Then I used a combination of the ellipse tool, which I used to make the snowmen bodies right here. And then once I stacked my ellipses on top of each other, I added these up to make the snowman body. Then I used the rectangle tool to make the hat, a rectangle up here and a long rectangle down there, and then a rectangle to make the band. I also used the ellipse tool to make the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and the rectangle tool to make the scarf, but I had to convert it to curves so that I could round it out and make this little gather in the scarf. So basically that's what I did. The only problem I really had was, since this has to be transparent, and it's going to have to be transparent because I'm going to need to make a copy of this to do the beveling part of my glass. The head of the snowman was showing through, so what I had to do is to add the body of the snowman to the hat, and that made this line disappear. So all I really did was I took the pen tool and drew a line from there to there on all three of these hats, and that cleared up that part. Then what I did is I put a rectangle over everything and then duplicated the rectangle so that I had two rectangles, one here and one here. And then I took my pen tool to draw these lines, because most bevel glass I've seen have, oops, don't want to click on that, have these lines like that. So let's see if we can get back out of here. There we go. I clicked something. So pretty much that's what I did. When I finished all this, then this was still a vector diagram. So what I did is I rasterized, I grouped everything together because this was a bunch of layers, circles and rectangles and all that stuff, and curves. This was a curve. And I grouped it all together, and then I rasterized it, but I never named it, so I guess I'm going to do that now. And I'll just say that this is stained glass. It's really not that important because we're not going to have that many layers in the end, and you won't get that confused. Now, once we did that, we need to go over to the pixel persona right here. So I just went from the vector persona, which we used to call Affinity Designer 2, to the pixel persona, which we used to call Affinity Photo 2. This is what I really like about this program, actually. So now we have our stained glass and everything is transparent. So this had to be done on a transparent background, because what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up filling one of these layers with color, and then the other one is going to be the beveling for the glass. So I'm going to take this stained glass and I'm going to duplicate it. So now we have this piece on the top, which is going to be our beveling for the stained glass, and this piece on the bottom, which we're going to be using to fill in the color. So I'm going to turn off the first stained glass one, and then make sure we have the second stained glass done, because if you don't have the right, if you have this one selected, this is the one we're going to color in, the second one. If you have the first one selected and not the second one selected, then what's going to happen is that it'll look like nothing is happening, and then you'll cry. And if you don't have the second one selected, you'll just cry more. So remember that this needs to be turned off, this needs to be turned on, and you should have both of these right here. So we're going to work with this one first. So the next thing I'm going to do rather, is to fill all of this with color. And to do that, I am going to use the fill tool. The paint, I used to call it the paint bucket tool, but now it's called the fill tool. And it's over here under, where did you go? It should be under, oh, there it is. It's called the flood fill tool. Now, if your flood fill tool is not showing up, it's probably because it's sitting under or nested with this tool right here, which they now call the fill tool, which used to be called the gradient tool. It still looks like a gradient tool. It looks like a wrench with something over it, but it's the fill tool. And when you first get your program and open it, it's probably going to be one that appears there, but we want the flood fill tool, so just click on the caret and then select the flood fill tool and you'll be good to go. So now, and see how you've got the little paint bucket right here? So now we're going to select the colors we're going to use. I'm going to start with black first, so that means that black needs to be in the front, and I need to make sure that I've clicked on it, which I just did twice. And then I'm going to fill everything that we need to fill in with black. And I want his hat to be black. So I'm just going to click on this and it will automatically fill in everything in black. And I want his eyes to be black, so we're going to do that, like that. Sometimes when these circles get really small, you'll find that when you click on them, you might color the rims instead of the inner part. But if that happens, just do Control Z to get out of it, or even better, you can zoom in and make sure that doesn't happen to you, but I never do that. I just do it like this. Maybe you'll see that. Maybe I'll slip up on his mouth and you'll be able to see what I mean. So just make sure the little paint piece is pointing in there, and then we get all the blacks. Now we need the reds, so I want to click on the red and get his band on our three amigos here. And the mouth is going to be red, so we're going to fill the red. See what I mean? I clicked too far outside and now I click the rim to be red. So all I need to do is to go back one. So I'll just do Control Z and that will get me back out. And then I'll need to remember to make sure that we're pointed in the middle of the ellipse so that that doesn't happen. It's harder when they're really small, and I probably would be better off if I would zoom in, but I'm not going to do that. Why make it easy on myself? And so we'll just need to get around with his mouth, and then we'll need his nose. So I'm going to go over here to the swatches and pick purple. Make sure purple's in the front and that we've clicked on it, and then over here we'll fill with purple. And then lastly, I want his scarf to be green, so I'm going to pick a green, and then I'm going to fill in the scarf like that. And then lastly, I'm going to need to fill in the bodies with white. Make sure that's real white and not that grayish white. And then I'm going to make sure I clicked on that and fill the body in with white. Now all we need to color in now are the two rectangles, and I'm going to have this rectangle be a little lighter than the outside, and so the color I'm going to pick for that is, I'll click this one. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to be changing it anyway, so I'll click that one, make sure it's in front, click on it, and then do that. And then I'm going to go over to color because I want to lighten that up a little bit, and I want to show you something. If I lighten that up a little bit, well, this needs to be in front. Notice that this circle changes. It gets lighter, but this part doesn't. And so what you do is you click on that again, because that's what's going to determine what the color is. I've clicked on it, and now I'm going to click over that, and that's going to give us the color I want. Then I'm going to click on the outside here, and then maybe make this darker, and click on it again, and change the color, and then go all the way down around each of these so that the rim becomes all the same color. So now I'm done with the color. So that's what our color looks like right now. Now what we have to do is we have to bring in the stained glass. So I'm going to go out and go File and Place and hunt down my stained glass, which is this frosted glass right here, and open it up and then just pull it over my picture. Now, you can find, if you go out to pixabay.com, I mention that because that's usually where I get all my images. They're royalty free, but I always like to mention them because, you know, if you need images, I feel like that's where you should go since I use them. This isn't clear glass, this is colored glass, but if you like the clear glass better, I'll show you later how you can change that. So we need to take this frosted glass and we need to move it to where it's sitting underneath here. Then we're going to have to click on this stained glass image and we're going to click on this drop down, and then we're going to go down to either color burn or linear burn, and I say either color burn or linear burn because I could never decide which one I like better, but I think color burn, I like it to be a little bit lighter. So I like that one, and after flipping a coin, that's the one I'm going to go with. So this is going to be our blending mode for this is color burn. So what we've done is we've blended our drawing, our image with the frosted glass, and that's what it looks like. Now, I'm going to show you why this layer up here, the one I turned off, is important, because this is where I'm going to do the beveling part of it. You don't have to do the beveling part of it. If you like it like this, you can keep it like that, but to bevel the glass, it looks a little bit more realistic. So I'm going to turn this back on, and you can't tell it's turned on because it's a transparent drawing, and that's why the illustration had to be transparent and not on a white background, because the only thing that's going to be beveled are the lines that outline the images, and that's why it's important for it to be transparent. Okay, so I'm going to click on my stained glass, and then I'm going to go to Effects and open the Effects box, and up here you'll see Bevel and Emboss, and I'm going to click on Bevel and Emboss, and immediately it adjusts itself to the default, which is usually 5 pixels on the radius. So it's already beveled and embossed itself already, and you can make adjustments on this. You can turn it up. If you turn it up too much, in my opinion, it just looks weird. So I kind of keep it down like that. The things though to adjust are the direction. So right here you've got direction, and you can move this little knob to where you can get the direction of the emboss. To me, it looks more realistic if you get the direction dot right here in the middle, and it really does look like it's actually embossed, like glass would be. And then you can adjust this a little bit, although I don't know, I think maybe 9 pixels is good enough for this. Maybe that's a little bit too much. But another thing you can do to make it look a little better is to invert it. So there's an invert over here next to the profile box, and if you click invert, it really makes it look more like it's beveled glass. So this is why we had that extra layer that was just the transparent drawing, while the other one was the transparent layer that we filled in with color. So there's your effects on that. Now, what if you didn't want the colored glass? What if you wanted just glass in the back? Well, you can do that. All you would need to do is to click on the frosted glass, and then you would desaturate it. In order to do that, I think I did this a long time ago, but I might not have because I couldn't really remember how to do it, and I had to look it back up again. But what you need to do is select your frosted glass and click on adjustment layer. So you're adding an adjustment layer and you're going up to levels. So there's your levels, and down here under blend mode you're going to find saturation. So we're going to find saturation down here like that, and then you're going to come down here to output white level and take this little button and turn it all the way down. So that will take the color all the way out of your glass. And so now there won't be any more color left there. If you like it with the color, then all you have to do is either delete that or turn it all the way back up and then just do reset. So here's what it looks like with the colored glass, and this is what it looks like with the clear glass. Okay, so there you have it, an example of a bevel glass effect in Affinity 3. I really liked how I could make my design in the vector persona and then just click on a tab to switch to the pixel persona to finish it up. Previously, you would have had to do the design in Affinity Designer, export it out, and then bring the design into Affinity Photo in order to finish it up like this. I think I'm liking this new iteration of Affinity personally. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell, and pop on over to my Buy Me a Coffee webpage to check out my posts. But most important, try this stained glass art out for yourself.